Okay, you're good.
All right. Once again, good morning, everyone. And we do have a quorum. So let us begin. As a reminder, please turn off or silence your cell phones during the hearings. Good morning. You are attending the Animal Matters Commission hearings for October 3rd, 2022. The Animal Matters Commission was established and is conducted in accordance with Article 12 of the Anne Arundel County Code. These are administrative hearings, and by nature they are informal, which means you are not hampered by rules of evidence. However, please be aware that you will still be testifying under oath. Each party will have their opportunity to state their case. After each party states their case, they will have an opportunity to ask questions of the other party. Please do not interrupt the other party. You will be given ample time to talk. In many cases, we are aware that there is a history. You may briefly tell the commission about the history. However, please focus on the issue at hand. After each case, the commission will have open deliberations. During these deliberations, the public may not participate. If the commissioners have an additional question, you may answer that question. No further information will be heard and a decision will be rendered. This decision is a recommendation to the chief of police or their representative. The recommendation of the commission will be taken into consideration, and a final decision will be made by the chief of police or their designated representative. If, as the defendant in the case, you are unhappy with the decision of the commission, you may appeal. For citation cases, appeals are made through the District Court of Maryland. For administrative orders, such as potentially dangerous, and vicious orders, appeals are made through the County Board of Appeals. Mr. Hall, please call the first case.
Thank you, sir. Our first case, we have Craig Lucy versus Peter Yost for an animal running at large citation. All parties who wish to testify may now come forward to take the oath. See Mr. Lucy here. Let me bring him up. I do not see Mr. Yost connected. Let me try to reach out to him at the phone number provided in his appeal. All right, I did manage to get Mr. Joss on the phone. He is currently flying back from Boston, so he is unable to appear. He asked me to request postponement on his behalf, but as we are within a 5 business day period, that's up to the commission as to whether or not to grant it at this point.
Okay, well then that would be before us, whether or not to grant the postponement. Philip, I just had to ask, he did receive the citations in the mail return receipt came back?
Yes, sir. And notice for the commission hearing was provided to him at the email address he provided in his appeal on September 23rd.
Okay, taking that into consideration, Tom, what do you think?
I mean, I'm of the opinion if he signed the appeal and he knows he's supposed to be here today, that without appearing with any sort of reasoning for it, other than no good reason, I say we would uphold the citation.
Dr. Hammer?
Not my vote.
I agree with Tom's recommendation and his reasoning as well.
Jennifer?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt anyone, but yeah, I mean, it's his appeal. So I just assume uphold it.
Corporal Wiley?
Uphold it.
Well, I'm with you all.
I'll move to uphold if that makes it easy.
Well, I think the point of procedure here, I think we have to make a motion, and I can make that motion that we deny the request for an extension.
Okay.
And then and then I need Tom to go ahead and make a second motion to uphold, and I think that's the correct procedure. And
Okay.
excuse me, Ed.
Nope, no problem. Okay.
So I make a motion, we uphold we decline the request for an extension.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? It's unanimous. Okay.
And then I'll go ahead and make a motion to uphold the citation.
I second it.
All in favor? Another unanimous. Okay. That was quick, and I think we all agreed on that one. Okay, Mr. Hall, I guess we can call the second case.
Thank you, sir. The second case, we have Craig Lucy versus Mark Gould for 3 animal running at large citations. Any party who wishes to testify may now come forward to take the oath. Mr. Lucy's still here. Let me bring him up. Promote to panelist. Mr. Gould is there. Promote to panelist. There we go. There we go. I can see you there, Mr. Lucy. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Thank you kindly. If you would, for the record, state your name and address.
Craig Lucy, 1812 Skippers Row, Gibson Island, Maryland.
Thank you kindly. Hang out for just 1 second. We'll get you sworn in all together at the end. Mr. Gould, I can see audio. I'm going to ask for you to start your video if possible. Let's see, audio just turned off.
Hello. Yeah, this is Mark Gould. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, sir. Can you hear me all
Yes,
right?
I don't have the video.
All righty. If you would please state your name and address for the record.
It's Mark Gould, 640 Broadwater Way, Gibson Island.
Thank you kindly. If you would both please raise your right hand. Do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you both. If you would please remain muted unless called upon to speak, and we are good to proceed.
Okay, Mr. Lucy, I believe you are the complainant in this matter. You may state your case first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the commission. As the citation says, on 5/30, May 30th of 2022, I was riding my bike past Mr. Gould's house. Mr. Gould's house, as the video shows, is surrounded by corporation/HOA lots. They are not designated as secure dog off-leash areas. They're not designated as unsecure dog off-leash areas. 3 dogs were running off of Mr. Gould's property. His property is surrounded. So there's the HOA road in front, and then he's got property surrounding his property. 3 dogs were running at large back and forth. I was on my bike. I stopped, I videotaped it. We have a real problem, as you all know from these meetings before, of dogs running at large, off leash, on Gibson Island, on people's other than their properties. In this case, again, it was not a designated secure or designated unsecure off leash area.
Okay, and you said there's a video with that?
Yes, I sent the video along with the affidavit.
Okay, Philip.
Have that up in just 1 second. Let's share screen here. System audio, screen 1.
The red box shows the Gould's property, and the other 5 properties are HOA properties.
Whole thing is a corporation lot.
It's not just the side properties, it's also the back property.
So you're claiming where that man is standing right there is actually is not on his own property. That's HOA property as well.
So yeah, the man walked behind the bush. The bush designates the back of the Gould's actual own property. And as the previous slide showed, there are 6 properties that actually surround the Gould's property, and then you have the road in front.
I got that. I just want to make sure that I understand the line of delineation there.
So as soon as they cross that bush line and they're in front of the bushes, they're on the Gould's property. But you saw previously they were behind the bushes. But off to either side is that dog is on corporation HOA property.
Okay, is there anything else, Mr. Lucy?
No, I'm obviously all aware of the issue we're having on Gibson Island, and I did send Officer Hall a note from the county attorney that at-large citations not in process were somehow being put on hold or stay. I talked to another council member this morning, and that council member could not tell me that in fact that was something being done for the entire county. That council member did not know. So there seems to be something afoot, certainly legislation, which I've always said, there's legislation that all dogs at large across the entire county, which likely would be more than 200,000 dogs or 600,000 people, if they're allowed to be at large and off your property, off a leash, and that's the change that the county council votes for. But no vote can happen before the election's done. So that's December, or January. So my understanding from the writing I sent Officer Hall from the county attorney was that although there was an attempt to put these types of things on hold, nothing in process was on hold. And the council member had no idea how anything could be done legislatively. And practically, you'd have 200,000 dogs able to run at large.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Gould, you may state your case now at this time.
Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to share some information that was not included in the affidavit or the citation. First of which is that I don't own any of the dogs in the video, nor was I responsible for monitoring them that day. Secondly, the videotape evidence is really troubling to me. It's recording activity in my backyard, which, despite the legal opinion provided by Mr. Lucy, privacy. I'm sure none of you would appreciate people videotaping activity that's occurring in your backyard. And it had a creepy feel to it. But I guess that's a matter to be pursued in a different forum. But I also found it troubling that a copy of the legal opinion obtained by Mr. Lucy was included with my citation. I don't think it's appropriate for the county to be assisting Mr. Lucy in his allegations against me by providing supporting documentation. It suggests to me there's a clear bias in favor of Mr. Lucy and an equally clear bias against me. Evidence of this bias is the fact that the evidence provided by Mr. Lucy was just accepted at face value. How was it determined that the dogs were not on my property? There's no property line markers. So I don't see how that video is conclusive in any way. Similarly, the allegation that these were my dogs wasn't investigated because, as I just stated, they're not my dogs. It seems like in Anne Arundel County, I'm guilty until proven innocent. It just suggests to me there's an unusual relationship between the animal control staff and Mr. Lucy that I think needs to be looked into further. As to the specific allegations, I guess the question I have is issuing citations for infractions as minor? Is this really the intent of the law? Even if it could be proved that these dogs were not on my property, it was for a matter of seconds. 50 yards from any road, no safety issues, not creating any safety issues at all. Is this how the residents of Anne Arundel County expect this law to be applied? No threshold of relevance. I would think one of the main goals of this board is to fairly interpret that ordinance. And just because one person wants to pervert the law as a way to play gotcha and harass their neighbors does not mean that this board needs to be complicit in those efforts. And based on that reasoning, I'm just requesting that all these citations be dismissed. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Gould, do you happen to know who the dogs do belong to?
I do.
Okay. And who do they belong?
I don't feel like I need to provide that information. That's information that the people issuing the citation and making the accusations need to figure out.
Ed, if I may.
Go ahead.
As Mr. Gold has stated, that is for the individual issuing the citations to figure out, and I did in the course of completing these citations. In this case, it appears to be Mr. Gold's son, one Philip Gold, whose information was publicly available. In this case, the citations were issued to Mr. Gold as the county code defines an owner of an animal as a person who keeps, has temporary permanent custody of, possesses, exercises control over, has a property right in any animal, and then the definition of keep meaning to permit either feeding or sheltering an animal on the premises of the occupant or owner who permits it. So in this case, despite the dogs possibly being owned by Mr. Gould's son, they were being kept on the property, and therefore Mr. Gould is liable for these charges.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else, Mr. Gould?
I have no further comment.
Okay, any further comment, Mr. Lucy? Yes, see your hand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I also sent Officer Hall, although I have not filled out a citation yet. I believe it was on September 3rd. The medium-sized dog, there's a large black dog, a smaller dog, and the medium-sized dog is identical to the dog that was off leash at Otter Pond. Was riding my bike by. I asked the dog to be put on leash. Carol Gould, his wife, said Mark, and he took some time to put the dog on a leash. It's the same exact dog as the middle dog. Officer Hall does have that video. He can bring it up. But again, a few seconds is all it took for my wife to be hospitalized by a dog off leash. Real easy to keep them on leash. And Downs Park is a mile and a half down the road, and you can let them run off leash in the water all the time. And Mr. Gould has already admitted that the dog was off the property for a few seconds. I was going to ask him if that is his property. Those are the deeds and agreements from Gibson Island. So
I did not admit that any dog was off property. I said if, as alleged, they were off property.
Mark, were your dogs ever off your property? Or were those dogs ever off your property?
Greg, that's not for me to say. It's for you to prove.
Okay, I have one question. In the video, Mr. Lucy, it just seems like there was a lacrosse stick and a lacrosse ball, and the dogs were just retrieving the ball and bringing them back. This was not an issue, and correct me if I'm wrong, where they came after you viciously, or you were riding your bike, or they came after you or anything?
I was riding my bike on the road that day. I have ridden on that lot. It's a mountain bike, as you saw at the end of the video. The dogs did not come after me, but that's why it's under control and on a leash, because squirrel person, I've had a dog come after me when they recognize me, which happened in the Mr. Yost situation. So luckily the dogs didn't come after me. No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the witnesses? Jennifer?
I do, since this is, Mr. Gould has raised the issue that we don't know where his property line is. I'd like him to tell us, based on that video, if his property line is at the bush, as Mr. Lucy suggests.
I'm not sure where the exact property line is.
Okay, are there any other questions before we deliberate this matter?
I'd like to play the video again. I want to see if I can see the end of the property line based on as far as the street, the far end, the left side of the video, not where the dogs are coming from, but the other side. I was paying more attention to the dogs, and I'd like to see it again to see, based on the map that was provided, if just reasonably I can assume that the dogs left his property, based on other geographical features. So if you could play that again, Phil.
Yes, sir. Let me get that up here. Share screen. Share screen launch.
It appears to me, based on this map, that on the left side of the map, 2 lots down from Mr. Gold's, and I'm sorry, to the lot to the left of Mr. Gold's, there's a street of some sort. Is that correct, Mr. Lucy? Is there like a path or a street?
That's the Broadwater way where I was riding my bike. Yes.
That's where you were riding your bike.
Yes.
So the camera is pointing east based on this. If east is to the right, I don't know if it truly is based on this map, but if we're looking at a map northeast southwest, you were riding a bike north and the dogs were to the east.
I was at the E in Broadwater Way, TER. So I was at the E, and the
Okay.
camera was facing up toward the G in dogs.
Okay, so to the left of that, there looks like I don't know if it's a property line, there looks like a path of some sort to the left of those properties. Is that correct?
No, there's no path. It's just all grass.
It's all grass, but so that's two separate property lines that map is showing with an
Yeah,
easement?
it's actually 5 separate properties surrounding the Gould property.
I see that, but to the left of those 5 properties, there's either an easement or a pathway there on the left side. Phil is dragging I think his cursor across what I'm pointing at.
It's not designated on the ground as anything. This is a 1925, 1921 deed.
Okay.
Which are the deeds. So
Right,
now,
I'm asking because so there's no geographical feature. I'm not going to see that in the video. That's just
No.
grass moving forward.
I ride past going toward the Y. I ride past the Gould's house, and then I'm at the E looking up at the G in dogs.
Okay.
And the Goulds have the back corner of their property, back corner of the red. They planted some bushes, and now they actually have benches there. And you see the dogs run past those, which means they run off onto the corporation lot where dogs is.
Okay. All right. Well, you can go ahead and run it, Phil. I think I don't know if everyone's can see what I'm trying to say there, but if I don't see if there's no obvious geographical feature there, it's going to be hard to tell the distance from what could be. I would assume that's the Gould driveway there.
Yes, it
The last
is.
driveway on the right.
It's a horseshoe driveway.
And so that line of trees down there is the next lot, like the next neighbor's house I can see past there.
Yes. So this is now looking up toward what was the G in dogs, and so the dogs clearly over onto corporation property.
Just to make it a little clearer, it seems like the Gould's property was labeled as 105 on the map, and the dogs are running on to 106.
Yes, Chairman.
Okay.
Actually, they were running on to a 104. I think it's 104 above, maybe, or one. It's the
104, 106.
yes.
Okay. And that little path that Tom was concerned about.
I don't think it shows up as a path, Ed. I think from the
Yeah.
video I just saw, you can see the next house down that says Nolan there. I believe you
Nolan,
can see
right.
that house. But let me ask Mr. Gold, I don't know if you'd be willing to answer, but is the white driveway that we saw, is that your driveway?
That's my driveway.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do me a favor, run it one more time, Phil.
Whole thing is a corporation lot.
I've seen all I need to see. I don't know about anybody else.
I'm good. I've seen what I need to see. I do have a question though for Mr. Lossie. I'm just curious. The video starts with you. The video starts long before you see the dogs at large. Do you typically just ride your bike around with a video camera recording?
So we're Ironman triathletes, and so I probably on a weekend will circle the island, and that's the main road. About 200,000 cars a year travel that. Probably circle the island 20, 30 times in a day. But I do keep my phone in my right hand. There's some arrow bars, so I can still hang on to my bicycle handlebars with my fingers. But one of the reasons I do that is exactly that, because my wife was injured by a dog, and I want to make sure the camera's there.
Okay.
Mr.
you.
Lucy, also, was that two separate videos? The video of you pedaling the bike, and then you stopped the camera and then started a second video with the dogs running. Is that true? Is that correct?
Yes, because my left brake is my front brake, so I had to move to my right brake to stop with my back brake, not go over the handlebars. So I stopped it, and then I turned the video on again.
Okay, does anybody have anything else? Because I have one question. The property, which was labeled 106 or the one above it, there's no house there, Mr. Lucy?
No, there's about 200 to 300 HOA lots that the corporation just hasn't sold. They're originally about 400. The corporation sold about 200 of them. So it's just a vacant HOA lot that we all own.
Okay. We will close for deliberation unless anybody has anything else at all. And I heard at least two of the commissioners say they've seen everything they need to see. Does everybody feel like that?
Agreed.
Okay, then we will close for deliberation at this time. I'll start with Tom simply because you're next to my picture here.
So, I mean, based on what I've seen and based on what we've been through with all this before, I mean, I agree to an extent that I can't see the rear property line. I can't visually make heads or tails where his rear property line would be. I can't use those bushes as a judgment call there. He might have planted those bushes 10, 15 feet inside of his property line. I have no idea. But it seems fairly obvious that at least two of the dogs were off his property at large. That's what it seems to me. I think the two dogs that were chasing the ball were clearly at large based on the video, based on what I saw as far as where the driveway was. Even though there was a second video started, as he panned back and we got the back corner of the yard kind of look, it was pretty obvious that two of those dogs were off his property. I don't, the larger black dog, I believe it was a, I can't remember the type of dog it is, but the larger black dog that was kind of just stayed near the guy with the lacrosse stick. I can't say for sure whether that dog was ever off property or not. I can't tell depth wise how far off the property line is in the back. That's kind of how I feel about this. As far as I understand, no regulation has changed as far as these dogs on running at large. So I feel like we're kind of, with evidence presented, while I don't know the motivation behind all this. I don't know why Mr. Lucy's been here multiple times. It doesn't really matter as long as we're looking at the regulation as it stands. I think it's pretty obvious that we have to uphold at least those two, in my opinion.
Okay, Jennifer?
I agree with Tom. I mean, this is a civil matter, so we're looking at preponderance of the evidence. We just got to tip the scales a little bit. And it's, part of our job is to assess the credibility of the witnesses. And I think it was obvious Mr. Gold was hedging for self-serving purposes. I think he knows where his property line is. I don't think anybody on Gibson Island that owns property is not aware of where their property line is. And I think when you view it all together, the totality of it, I think it's, in my mind anyway, it's clear that the dogs were off the property. And like Tom said, I'm not exactly sure what other issues are going on with these folks since we've had numerous of these cases, but as far as the statute goes, the dogs were running at large, and I don't think we have any choice but to uphold the citations.
Okay, Corporal Wah?
This one's a tough one. Can you guys hear me? My sound working good? Okay. Yeah, this one's a tough one. Usually the dogs at large are out in the street, running across someone's driveway, things like that. My problem with his video is it's two videos obviously chopped. It's him riding down the street and then he turns and zooms in. I have no bearing of where that house was that he first passed, which he said was his driveway. And then it kind of zooms in and out. We don't know where his property line is. So to me, I can't uphold it because I need to know where that property line is unless we all go out there and have someone measure it and plot it out. Yes, they do run off, but how far back do they go? I don't know. We're looking at a plot from 1921, he said. So I can't, unless we go out there and have exact measurements of it to say, yes, those bushes are part of it, or that tree that was off to the left the dog runs by is on lot 104 or whatever. I can't, I'm not with it.
I understand. Dr. Hammer?
I tend to agree with Tom's position. I think that for sure, two of them, the Black Bernese mountain-like dog did not leave the property, at least what we're believing to be the property. I think the other two dogs ran far enough away from the owner or the caretaker to likely go off the property, even though we don't know exactly where the property line is. And in my opinion, looking at this, you know, it's as Jennifer said, it's the preponderance of the evidence, and Mr. Gold was given an opportunity to define his property line, and for whatever reason he's elected not to, and that's certainly his prerogative. But based on what I'm seeing, and I'm looking at the county code now, the way it reads, for sure, the medium-sized brown dog and the small brown dog, in my opinion, went off the property and are technically running at large. The big Black Bernese mountain-like dog did not leave the property, as I'm understanding it, and I don't think we can uphold that citation. So the three citations we have, I think we can uphold two. The third one, I think, I don't think we can really uphold.
Thank you. My thoughts on this are technically, do we have an issue here? Yes, the dogs were off the property. It would seem there's no fine delineation between the properties, but I'm kind of torn because it was harmless. I mean, the dog was chasing a ball and the other dog was accompanying it. It didn't seem vicious at all or threatening. And the son was just playing a ball, and it went over onto a vacant lot. And, you know, that's what bothers me. But then to say that, I'm looking at the rest of the record here, and Philip, you can chime in and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that none of the dogs were licensed or registered.
There are currently no licenses for any animals on that property, no, sir.
And that's what kind of offsets, in my mind, the innocence of playing ball with them, is that if anything did happen, there's no record of the dog. If they have obviously they weren't on a leash. Had they gotten away, you know, it bit someone or whatever, you know, they had no record. So I think one offsets the other, and I still, in my heart, in my mind, I don't think it's worth $100 fine. That's just me. I heard what everybody else said, and I agree that there is, you know, there is evidence that they were off leash and they were running at large. So what do? We uphold the law. Unfortunately, I mean, that's our job. That's what we do, is we uphold the law. can't make exceptions. So even though my heart wants to make an exception, my mind says we cannot do that. So do we hear a motion?
Technical question on the citations numbered 5, 6, and 7. Are they just for a dog, or are the animals individually identified in each one of those citations?
Yes, sir, they are. If you look at about a third of the way down, it says charged with animal running at large, and then the first one you'll see shepherd mix, brown and white, the 6Z ending 06, golden retriever, and then the one that's in question is 0Z07, St. Bernard, black and white.
Okay, thank you for that, Phil. That's what I needed to hear. Well, then I make a motion that we uphold citation ending in 605, 606, and we dismiss citation ending in 607.
I'll second.
Does anybody feel that perhaps the fines themselves should be lowered a little bit? I mean, it just bothers me that it was just a couple seconds, and that still makes it $100. And to me, in today's economy and everything, I don't think what happened was worth $100 fine. That's just me. I'm just putting that out there.
I appreciate what you're saying. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but as you said before, I'm kind of in your mindset, Ed. My mind's telling me we got to uphold the law. That's kind of what our job is. But from an emotional perspective, I certainly see the innocence here. But we are obligated to hold up the law as the law is written. And so that's why I'm probably going to say we probably ought to keep the fines where they are, because if we start to make exceptions here, what's our standard that we're going to use to make exceptions going forward? Because by the looks of things, we're probably going to see more and more of these cases crossing our docket. And that's my concern. We got to have some type of transparency, and we have to have some type of equality here.
I understand.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Dr. Hemmer. There's time. I think there's a time and a place for us to reduce and things like that. In this case, it was very clear. I mean, it's a simple running at large. It's not like we're dealing with vicious stuff. I understand, and thank God we're not. But I mean, I think there's a time and a place where that does benefit us to lower the cost, and I don't see that here.
I hear you. I was just putting it out there. Okay.
So we had a motion and a second, I think, on the table.
We do.
We have a motion to uphold 2 of the fines, and we have a second. All in favor? Okay, motion carried.
And Corporal Wale, is that an oppose or an abstain?
It stinks. I'm good.
Okay. Excuse me. Seeing that there are no more cases, correct?
Yes, sir.
We are in.
The
Does
minutes-
everybody have access to the minutes, I believe, of last meeting? I'll just take a quick peruse of those and make sure everything is okay, that all the votes are logged in as they were voted on, and if everybody agrees that they are accurate, I'd like to hear a motion to accept the minutes.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as presented.
Okay,
I'll second.
Seconded by Jennifer. Okay. All in favor? All right. And I don't think that there's any other business in front of us today.
No, sir.
I would imagine our next meeting would be November 7th. Would that be correct?
I don't believe that's a holiday. Yes, sir.
Okay. With that, it's nice seeing everybody. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A second.
Second. See you all. You all have a great month. We'll see you November 7th.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
good month.